Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise to highlight how President Biden's open border policies and Senator Schumer's inaction, refusal to pass our Border Security Act is resulting in everyday Americans dying. In 2023, the overdose death rate topped 112,000 individuals, setting a new record. Fentanyl is still the #1 killer of Americans ages 18 to 45. 70 to 80% of all fentanyl in the U.S. comes from the southern border. That's not just me saying it. That's what the Drug Enforcement Administration is saying. Drug cartels are making $32 million a week, smuggling individuals into our country. Yes, every asylum seeker, migrant, illegal immigrant, whatever you want to call them, coming through our southern border is paying the drug cartels, who in turn then use that money to continue to poison our children by selling drugs. The DEA, well, first let me say the DEA seized 384 million doses of fentanyl. That's enough to kill every single American. The DEA stated that in December of 2022, the most of the fentanyl being trafficked were from 2 cartels, and it's being mass-produced at secret factories in Mexico, with chemicals being sourced largely from China. And in May of last year, the DEA conducted an operation that resulted in over 3,000 arrests, the seizure of almost 44 million fentanyl pills, more than 6,500 pounds of fentanyl powder, more than 81,000 pounds of methamphetamine, 8,400 firearms, and more than $100 million. And yes, the DEA is doing a great job. But look at the pressure we are putting on this agency simply because the president insists on having an open border and Senator Schumer refuses to do his job. We passed legislation here to add fentanyl to Schedule I, all the analogs, and he refuses to do it over there. We passed the Border Security Act in May. He's been sitting on it since then. We took action to halt and sanction Chinese entities that are manufacturing and producing this fentanyl. And yet, again, the Senate refuses to take action. According to the DEA, Mexican criminal organizations are now the most prominent wholesale-level heroin traffickers in Chicago, Philadelphia, New Jersey, Washington, and they have a great presence in my city of New York. Let's talk about New York City. Well, last year we saw more than 3,000 people die from drug overdoses in New York City, 80% of which were tied to fentanyl. And that number has doubled since the New York Democrats in the legislature passed the 2020 bail law, allowing traffickers and dealers to be released automatically back onto our streets. Look at these headlines. Suspects accused of running $7 million fentanyl released without bail. New York's lax bail law lets lethal fentanyl peddlers off scot-free. New York bail law required most of 30 drug dealers busted in Long Island for peddling tranq, cocaine, and fentanyl to be automatically released. Mexican cartel smugglers nabbed with $1.2 million worth in meth in New York City released thanks to lax bail law. New York man busted with 20K fentanyl pills released without bail. 6 people busted as part of 7 million drug trafficking ring in Bronx released without bail under New York's state law that Kathy Hochul, the Democrats, refused to fix. So, the federal policies of the Democrats, coupled with the policies of my state government, have been a complete failure and disaster, and Americans are dying as a result. So once again, I urge my governor and the state legislature to do their job, and I urge our colleagues on the other side in the Senate to do their job. We took action here in the House. Again, we passed multiple pieces of legislation, most predominantly the Border Security Act. I expect Chuck Schumer to care about what's happening in his own state of New York and do the same. Thank you, and I yield back.